I'm sorry, I don't see where the lease allows for
We may have to
anything
agree to
else.
disagree.
Just because
We may
you
have to
have a
agree to
bigger
disagree on
area,
that.
I mean, I might own a lot, you know, that's 5 acres and zoned for, you know, 5 houses, but I might, you know, choose to only build 1 house on it. So just because you
But you can
entered
come back
into a
later
lease
and
for
build
a
4
larger
more houses.
property.
We may have to agree to disagree on this, Ms. Lang. I'm afraid I'm not able to answer your question.
Let me ask
Okay.
you if I could, can you read to us from the lease where it says that additional hangars are allowed specifically? Maybe that'll get what you want.
I'm going to let Mr. Dan Boone respond to this because he's most familiar with the lease as far as negotiating it, and want to make sure we give you all the best answer we can.
E.G. Dan Boone. I'm one of the attorneys for the Venice Jet Center. Let me back up and say that there is no hidden agenda as far as who the ownership is of this LLC. On file in Tallahassee, anybody can find it. It's public record. It states and shows that the ownership is Art Nadel and his wife, Peggy Nadel. Those are the owners on file in Tallahassee. It's not a mystery. Anybody in this room could have simply gone on the computer and found out that information. There's no way to try to get around that.
Mr. Boone, Mr. Nadel has come before us, and he's identified himself as either the managing agent or the managing partner. So that's where the confusion is, and no one's been able to find any other information beyond that. So maybe you could enlighten me as to, you're saying that besides being the managing agent or partner, Mr. Art Nadel and his wife Peggy are the owners?
That's correct. That is correct. Now, as far as the lease is concerned, there are, and I really wish you had discussed this with your attorney before doing this exercise today. The lease has 2 exhibits with it. The first exhibit is the minimum airport standards that apply to all of the different businesses that are on the airport. Not just the fixed base operators, but the other buildings, the other businesses that are there. Then there is specifically part of the lease, the standards for fixed base operators. And Venice Jet Center is a fixed base operator. And it's, and I'll need a minute to find that, but when I find it, it states that the one of the business ventures that the fixed base operator can do, more than just sell gasoline or handle tie downs or that sort of thing, but the fixed base operator can build and rent aircraft storage space. And that is a part of the lease, and that is the part of the lease that allows for this to be done on this particular land, because this is GU property. And there are no prohibitions or restrictions that say, for example, you cannot build hangars on this part of the GU land. You have to build the hangars on this part of the GU land. That's not the way it works. With all due respect to Ms. Lang, that's the way it is. Now, if there's any question that you want to have me to answer beyond what I have said, I'll be glad to do it.
Yes, I have another question. On the 2000 airport layout plan, there are a couple of areas. There's an area called the terminal area where the Jet Center is located and other buildings. and then there's the airside area of the airport. And in that 2000 plan, there is a designation and an area that's been designated for hangars. And it apparently originally said T hangars, and that was changed to hangars to allow for a combination of T and larger aircraft-type hangars. That is not within your leasehold, but that is a designation that's on the airport plan that shows that the city of Venice and our airport were complying with the interest in future demand, aeronautical demand at our airport. So there is no depiction of aeronautical use, I understand, or specific hangars within the Jet Center property, you know, other than what the lease specifically allowed, that one hangar. And I also frankly don't see how an exhibit that mentions standards for FBOs, you know, allows for the building of additional hangars within the leasehold without negotiating the rent in terms of the lease, because the lease was very specific about the buildings and the use of the land. You know, the standards to me are, you know, this is the, you know, these are examples, these are the types of things that FBOs do. That doesn't mean that that the city has negotiated within the rent and the leasehold itself, you know, more than the hangar and the Jet Center as we see it. And it seems to me that at minimum, additional structures, revenue, et cetera, would call for a renegotiation of this lease in terms of, you know, the rent and terms.
Would you like me to answer that? Or are you just making a speech?
Well, I don't quite, you know, understand, again, you know, how these exhibits are being
I would ask both of you,
cited,
and I
but
believe Ms.
anyway.
Lang has done her part in keeping
Well,
this
perhaps
civil.
one way of responding then, thank you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps one way of responding would simply be that Mr. Anderson's January 5th, 2009 memo, we concur with it as far as what the lease allows. And I have with me the provisions of the GU zoning district, which clearly allow for hangars to be built. I don't think, frankly, I think from a legal basis, there's absolutely no question at all, but that under the existing lease and the existing zoning and the existing totality of the FAA regulations as they apply to the Venice Municipal Airport, these hangars can be constructed.
Mr.
And
Boone,
I believe that-
I just want to say to both, in fact, to the team, that after you have a chance to present and the council has a chance to ask questions, we will, in fact, be asking Mr. Boone Mr. Anderson, sorry, to specifically speak to these issues as well. Yes, sir.
And that's my request, would be that Ms. Lang or other council members would address those questions to Mr. Anderson, because he is your attorney and he is in a position to answer those questions.